I knew that this news would come. If you couldn't hear that first part of the show, my apologies. But I knew that this news would come. I'm Ryan Thomas, Thomas Take Sports Podcast. The audio was not working for me at first as I first introduced here, but now I'm hopping on. I'm back on, firing on all cylinders, letting you guys know that the Buffalo Bills have not one, not two, but 3 Pro Bowl players, 4 Pro Bowl players, 5 Pro Bowl players from the 2020 team. And they are the following: Josh Allen, Trey White, Tremaine Edmunds, Andre Roberts, and of course, last and certainly not least, making his first Pro Bowl in the National Football League in his first season as a Buffalo Bill, none other than our favorite wide receiver, Stefon Diggs. 5 Pro Bowl players. The goal is that the Bills will not have to play in the Pro Bowl, that players that are representing the Bills will not have to play in the Pro Bowl because they're in the Super Bowl, right? That's the goal. Ideally, that's the goal. That's what we want. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But that's how I take this. Kind of like how Josh takes this with the AFC East title in saying that, hey, we're AFC East champs, but we're here to win a Super Bowl. We're not here to get individual accolades. We're not here to gloat over our own success. We are here to win a Super Bowl. And until we do that, we are not going to gloat. We are not going to act like we've already done these things when we haven't really done anything. We've only gained notoriety. We've gained a little bit of respect. But until we win a playoff game, until we make it to the Super Bowl, until we win an AFC championship game, that's when the accolades and the attention is deserved. But make no mistake about it, this is an awesome feat for this Bills team. It shows the progression that this Bills team has had. Josh Allen specifically making his first Pro Bowl as a franchise quarterback in this league. He is the talk of the league, among one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. There are a lot of analysts out there, guys like Tim Hasselbeck, guys like, dare I say it, even Rex Ryan, saying that if you were an NFL GM and the league just completely started over and you had the first overall pick, typically Pat Mahomes would go first, but second would be Josh Allen. Those would be the first 2 quarterbacks off the board right out of the gate. And I agree. In terms of fantasy football next season, I would be stunned if Josh Allen was not drafted in the first, second, or third round, especially if you're in the league in Buffalo. Let's be honest. We like to take our Bills if they're doing really, really well. And Josh Allen has had a phenomenal season, so kudos to him. Trey White, as I've said on this show many times, Trey White is one of the best running backs one of the best cornerbacks, in the game. And I was thinking of the fact that Trey White had one of the best forced fumbles. For whatever reason, I said running backs because then I started to think of Jerry Hughes, who was a running back. That whole thing was crazy, right? That Jerry Hughes fumble recovery, that forced fumble by Trey White was one of the best plays that this Bills defense has made all season long. And Trey White was the guy that brought Drew Lock down. Jerry Hughes scoops up that fumble, runs it into the end zone. And that was all she wrote. In for 6. The rest is history, as they say. But, along the way, Tremaine Edmunds, I think, had moments where he was so-so. He had moments where he didn't really quite look himself, and whether that was because he wasn't healthy or not, I don't know. I don't know what the reasons were. But Edmunds had moments where he just didn't look like himself out there. Matt Milano wasn't out there alongside him. Maybe that had something to do with it as well. But I truly think that Edmunds is a solid young linebacker in this league. Do I question whether he's a true middle linebacker? I think it's fair to, when there were a lot of plays that he missed throughout the season. But, Pro Bowl level, he is depended on as a middle linebacker. He plays the middle linebacker position snap after snap. In terms of a snap count, he is one of the most highly used linebackers in the league. So reliability, that puts him in the Pro Bowl in and of itself. And Andre Roberts has been one of the best return men in the game for many years, even dating back to his years with the Jets. He was solid. Buffalo brings him in. He's been a solid return guy for us, and he's one of the best return men in the National Football League. Stefon Diggs, the man that I believe is the best acquisition that the Bills have made in 20 years, and I mean acquisition via trade, trading with another team within the National Football League. I cannot think of a better trade target than Stefon Diggs was, is, and always will be. I would do that trade 100 times out of 100 again. I would trade what we traded again to get Stefon Diggs on this team and helping our quarterback and putting us in the right position to win and adding that next weapon to our offense. Stefon Diggs has been that guy, and then some. Breaking a record that Eric Mould said, hey, it's about time. It's about time someone broke one of my records. It's about time, that a receiver came out of the woodwork here and was able to make something happen. But this isn't a guy that just came out of the woodwork. This is Stefon Diggs, who has been a game-breaking talent in this league really since he was drafted. And people talk about Stefon Diggs and how talented he is. The fact that this guy was a mid-round pick and has been able to achieve what he has achieved, not just on one team, but now two teams, breaking franchise records for a team in his first season, regardless of how poor this franchise has been for the better part of the last 25 years. The fact that you're in your first season with a new team, a new quarterback, a new offense, and you come in and you provide that immediate wide receiver one production, that says a lot about the talent level that is Stefon Diggs. And it says a lot about what Stefon Diggs felt like he had to prove. And I read the ESPN magazine with Stefon Diggs on the cover, and what a great piece that was. The writer for that piece, the author of that piece, does not come to me right off the top of my head here, but that really painted a picture as far as what Stefon Diggs has gone through, not really feeling like things were a fit in Minnesota, wanting out, whether it was Kirk Cousins, whether it was Mike Zimmer wanting to run a run-heavy offense, you name it. I think it was a concoction of issues that lent itself to Stefon Diggs saying, if you guys can find a trade for me, please make it. And I think Buffalo was the right fit for him. A younger quarterback, a guy that can extend plays, a guy with a cannon for an arm, a guy that can do a lot of really good things in terms of being an athletic game breaker that Kirk Cousins never has been or will be. I'm sure that really, changed things for Stefon Diggs as far as his expectations coming to this team. Practice is one thing. Getting that practice between Stefon Diggs and John Brown and Cole Beasley, they bring all these guys together, and Stefon Diggs was asked, hey, you're going to lead this practice. You're going to lead these walkthroughs. You're going to lead these throwing drills. The fact that the Bills teammates, Bills players from the season prior, John Brown and Cole Beasley, who were somewhat newish in their own right, being that they'd only been here for 1 year, entrusted Stefon Diggs to lead the practice, goes to show you that the respect level between his teammates and Stefon was through the roof, even before Stefon played a regular season snap with this franchise. So I'm happy that these 5 names have been named as Pro Bowlers. They are all deserving in their own way. I know Edmunds got off to a little bit of a slow start during the season, and you guys will watch this video, and there was some audio issues at first, so I apologize. When you watch this from the beginning, really the only thing that you couldn't hear was the introduction to this video. I don't know why, but my mic was giving me trouble, but got it figured out now. But as happy as I am that Josh Allen, Trey White, Tremaine Edmunds, Andre Roberts, and Stefon Diggs made the Pro Bowl, I do believe there were some people missed. Who was missed? Who was missed out of this Pro Bowl, search? Or I guess, it's these are votes that are voted by the fans. Fans that vote bias for bias reasons. And obviously that could be a little bit of the case here with the guys that did get in, and that's okay. Bills Mafia was speaking loud and speaking pretty clearly about those 5 guys, but I think that there are 3 players on this team that should be in the Pro Bowl this year, 3 more than who was announced thus far. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are arguably the best safety tandem in the National Football League. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde were like the first 2 additions that Sean McDermott brought to this team that brought a respectability factor. Hyde especially, being that he was a little bit more well-known on a Green Bay. Poyer hadn't really had a breakout season. He did some decent things in Cleveland, but Sean McDermott looked at Poyer and said, this guy fits my scheme. This guy is going to make sense for this team moving forward. Let's bring him in. And we also think that Hyde and Poyer will be able to mesh really well together. Boy, were they right. That was the first thing that the first move, I should say, that the McDermott era was able to achieve and hit the nail on the head with. They hit the nail on the head with that one. That's for sure. And, you look at how teams attack the Buffalo Bills. How do they perceive the Buffalo Bills? They look at the Buffalo Bills and say they have one of the best corners in the game. They have a solid safety tandem at free and strong with Hyde and Poyer. They have a young offense now with Josh Allen. They have a solid receiving core in Stefon Diggs and John Brown and Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley should have been put into the Pro Bowl. It's crazy. You guys can disagree with me all you want. But in terms of slot receiver production, it's essential in this league. It's been essential in this league since the days of Joe Montana and the 49ers, since the days of Dallas, since the days of Buffalo. Their first run at their first true heyday in the early 1990s, late 80s, 1990s. They had a guy by the name of Andre Reed that they could move around, put Don Beebe out there, Wes Welker in New England, obviously Julian Edelman in New England. We're not too big of fans of those guys, but Cole Beasley has been everything that this franchise has wanted and more out of a slot receiver. And what a great acquisition that was. I remember during the time that the Bills were inquiring about Cole Beasley, they were interested in Jamison Crowder. They were interested in Adam Humphries. And I am so thankful that they got Cole Beasley. He is the all-time leader in National Football League touchdowns for a player that's 5'8" or under, 5'8" or shorter. How about that stat? I mean, that shows you, 33, 34 career touchdowns. He's having one of the best years of his career. The days in Dallas look like a distant memory with how Cole Beasley has played, with how well Cole Beasley has played here in Buffalo. And I remember the first training camp that Cole Beasley took part in during the St. John Fisher training camp, of course. Josh Allen was feeding him the ball. I thought, okay, we got Brown, we got Beasley. That's pretty good. Is the offense a finished product yet? No, that's where Stefon Diggs came in, and that's why we're seeing I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think that's one of the main reasons. Stefon Diggs coming here allowed guys like Cole Beasley to become even more wide open, and when John Brown is out there, when Gabe Davis is out there, you don't know what's next. You don't know what's coming. You don't know if it's a body punch or an uppercut or a right hook or a left hook. They're throwing punches from all different angles, this Bills offense. So that's how I see it. I want to get to some of the comments here. Let's see here. Joshua Rest says, how about the Buffalo Bills having a chance at getting the 2 seed? And this is a topic that I'm glad Josh brings this up. Good buddy of mine, guest on the show a time or two. We've done some solid shows together over the course of the last couple years. This is the thing here. I hate resting starters. I just hate that thought. Obviously, if it's the last week of the season and we got things locked up, we're already locked and ready, and raring to go. That's one thing. But in this game against New England, I don't know about you guys, but I enjoyed seeing Cam Newton basically cry a river of tears into a towel after the Patriots were eliminated from playoff contention. I enjoyed that. I relished that. I smiled and laughed when I saw the Patriots miss the playoffs for the first time since 2008. I want to bury the Patriots. The Patriots feel like they are at an all-time low in the Bill Belichick era, and rightfully so. They are a terrible team. Their run defense looks like a JV team, and their offense looks lost with zero identity. Buffalo is the complete opposite. Let's bury the New England Patriots and really just continue this Eeyore season that they have had and be another nail in the coffin. They already missed the playoffs. They're not playing for anything other than pride. Bill Belichick is one of the most prideful coaches in the league, but the thought of putting Matt Barkley out there against the Patriots, no, I don't want to do that. I'll put Matt Barkley out there against Miami when we have nothing to lose, when we've already won 12 games this season at 12-3, coming off of a win against New England this upcoming Monday. It's Monday Night Football. Do we want to showcase Matt Barkley on Monday Night Football when we still have something to play for, when, Pittsburgh hasn't looked that good these last few weeks? Obviously, one of those weeks being against Buffalo, but Pittsburgh hasn't looked that great. And who's to say that, the second seed isn't up for grabs? I don't really know what's going on in the game right now. I'm not tuning into that, but I'll tell you, why not bury the New England Patriots? Regardless of 2 seed or 3 seed, I want to see the Patriots get beat. I want to sweep the Patriots. Jimmy Primo says, agree 100 about Beasley. Poyer and Hyde got robbed. How did Gilmore get selected? And it's a popularity contest, Jimmy. It really is. And, Stefon Gilmore, I almost said Stefon Diggs. I think that Gilmore is just one of those guys that he is lofted up and held in this lofty altitude that I think is a little unfair. I think he's a good player. Him being better than Trey White or Patrick Peterson, I don't know about that. I don't know about that the last couple years. But it is what it is. These guys get propped up by the national media, and the national media, much like anything, they influence the thoughts of the public. Don't influence my thoughts, but they influence the thoughts of the public, that's for sure. Michael Gervais was an honorable mention. Daryl's honorable mention. I think Darrell Williams has been one of the best free agent signings the Bills have had in a long, long time. You look at that game, Mike, when the Bills played the Steelers. You got the Tasmanian Devil, known as TJ Watt, lined up across, I should say, from Darrell Williams. And Darrell Williams made TJ Watt look ordinary, made him look average. There were moments where TJ Watt got in there, but of course, the Steelers, they're running their stunts. Watt's not always attacking the man that's ahead of him. He's going left, he's going right, he's trying to run through people. Darrell Williams was extremely efficient in that game. Does not get the credit that he deserved for his performance in that game specifically, but throughout the season, he has been a reliable piece on this offensive line for the Buffalo Bills, and I hope that they extend him. I think he's a solid right tackle. And when you had the situation at hand that we had, and that we have, actually, not that we had, that we have, where Cody Ford, the Bills draft him in the second round, unfortunately over DK Metcalf, just throwing that out there. They don't know if Cody Ford is a tackle or a guard. Ford's been out. Ford is out. I don't think Ford's coming back this year. I think he's done. But Darrell Williams is a tackle. He's played tackle. He played well at tackle. And now you're feeling pretty damn good about the fact that you can just put Darrell Williams at tackle and leave Ford at guard once he's healthy. That was a luxury they did not have last season. Ken Zintel says, starting to look like a runaway freight train. I'm calling sooner rather than later on the Super Bowl. I am too. Yep. You heard me say it. I think within the next 2-3 years, the Bills will win a Super Bowl. maybe 4 years. This team has moved along faster than what we thought they would, and it's because the team was able to create chemistry in the most unprecedented times. It's so weird to me, guys. I really want to throw this point out there, and it does answer Ken's question, but I just call me crazy. This is just a thought that I had. I was talking to one of my buddies, Eric Ellis, one of my best friends. I think this pandemic was like one of the best things to happen to specifically Buffalo sports. It sounds nuts. It really does. It sounds insane. But you look at it, Buffalo sports, Bills and Sabres included. The Bills were able to cultivate chemistry between new players meshing with players that have been here. I think that's a testament to their coaching, but I think it's also a testament to how much these players want it, how much they want success. They talk about it all the time on their social media. They talk about it all the time in interviews. These guys want success. The Sabres, on the other hand, are starved for success. The Bills have had much more success these last few years, especially even in the Tyrod Taylor era, than the Sabres have. Sabres go into free agency and they say, we need another piece on this top line to pair with Jack Eichel. Taylor Hall says he wants to come here to stay close to his family during a pandemic. Am I missing something here? Would that have happened if this pandemic wasn't going on? I don't know. I don't know if it would have. I think I'm onto something there. I think I could be, I don't know. This year's made everybody lose their minds a little bit, but I think I'm onto something there. I think I hit the nail on the head. I mean, there was a lot of other reasons why Taylor Hall decided to come to the Sabres, but I think that was one of the biggest reasons. Mike says he doesn't want the starters resting at all. Keep this offense rolling. I agree. I mean, I'd love to go 13-3. I think they got a real opportunity to do that. If you can go 13-3 in a National Football League season, you flat out mean business. You mean business. You mean that you are heading into the playoffs as one of the teams that could play and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That's what you mean when you go 13-3. You don't go 13-3 to go one and done. And if you do, something went horribly wrong. It's happened. Of course it's happened. Remember that year the Chiefs were like, this was way before Pat Mahomes, but they had like Trent Green and Priest Holmes. They went like 11-0, and then they went one and done in the playoffs. Wow. We just got a fire comment from Adam. Update: Bengals up 10-0 on Steelers early second quarter. I'm telling you guys, if the Bengals win this game tonight, the Bills have to start their starters. I know there is no first-round bye for the second seed anymore, which I think sucks, to be honest, but I do like the expanded playoff a little bit. It allows another team to get in and squeak in. That's cool, whatever. But I feel like the first two seeds should get a first-round bye, and if it means adding an eighth seed, I think that would be fantastic. It'd be fantastic. Just my opinion. Josh says, do we need John Brown for the playoffs? I think they do. I think they know that he adds another dimension to this offense, and he's a speed demon out there. You got to get him healthy. You got to get him back healthy, and I think that they will, and I think that's what they've tried to work towards post his second injury this year. He's been injured twice. He's had two different injuries. So the fact that they can bring him in here healthy, ready, rocking and rolling for the playoffs, I think it would be great. So that's how I see it. That is how I see it. So I want to talk about some of the news and notes, some of the storylines around the National Football League. This has been an amazing season so far for the show. I want to remind you guys that the Thomas Take Sports Podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms, whether you're tuning into your shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or, of course, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on Facebook. The Facebook page has been booming since I started graphic design and putting out graphics. The show has been doing really, really well in terms of getting more attention. But my biggest thing is not making sure that the Thomas Take Sports Podcast has 1 million followers or 1 million likes. My thing is I want as much interaction between myself and the fans as possible. That's what I want. I like to interact with other people. I'm a talker. Obviously, I wouldn't have a podcast, but I love interacting with the Bills Mafia, the MMA fans all around the world. I've talked to a ton of fans from Ireland that are Conor McGregor fans. I've talked to Anderson Silva fans in Brazil. I've talked to the most diehard John Bones Jones fans that disagree with me on my assessment of John Bones Jones and his career thus far. I obviously feel like the glass is half full with John Jones. There's a lot left in the tank, and hopefully he achieves what his destiny is, and that is, one of the greatest talents in the sport. I'd like to see him get the heavyweight title, but I'd like to see him keep his head on a swivel and stay upright and hold his head up. That's my take on that, to give you a little bit of a preview. But there are so many storylines in sports right now that I really want to talk about, especially in the National Football League. So being that we've discussed the Bills back and forth between myself and some of the viewers on the show right now, I have to talk about one of the more polarizing stories in the National Football League right now. Two of them, actually, but the first one resides in the city of brotherly love, and that is Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz. I have not discussed this topic on the show at all. I've let this situation play itself out prior to myself talking about it. And yeah, there are Buffalo Bills items in the background. And yeah, watching this, you see that, and hearing it, you obviously hear that in terms of all my reactions and all my takes in regards to the Buffalo Bills. But at the end of the day, I do look at every team in the league extremely closely, and I love to have takes on teams and other markets, especially when it is a storyline as polarizing as this one. A true quarterback controversy, one of the first that we've seen, I think, that has true validity to it. And what makes a quarterback controversy? What makes a quarterback controversy? In my opinion, what makes a quarterback controversy is when you have two quarterbacks that are known to have shown and to have ability. One of those guys falls off the wagon. One of those guys struggles. One of those guys makes you doubt whether or not he can get back to his old form. Then he gets pulled due to the fact that he's proving time and time again that there's reason to doubt whether he can get back to his old form. Then comes the backup, the guy that might have different attributes, the guy that might have different ability for the quarterback at the quarterback position. So that is Hurts and Wentz in a nutshell. I will say this: Carson Wentz is not a bust. Carson Wentz is not a bad quarterback. Everything in this league, quarterback to team, depends on the situation. It's situational. Carson Wentz has shown us that he can produce in this league. So to say that he's a bust means that you do nothing, zero. You don't do a damn thing for the team that drafted you. Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell. Carson Wentz was almost an MVP, most valuable player candidate at one point in his career. Unfortunately, in the game of football, it is easy to get hurt. It is easy to go down. Carson Wentz has gotten hurt and he's gone down a lot. Actually, every year that he's played. The only year that he didn't get taken out due to injury, he got taken out because he wasn't doing what he needed to do on the field. He was benched. That was this season. So you say to yourself, okay, he's shown progress. He's shown what he can do in this league. What is it? Why is it that Carson Wentz has just fallen off the wagon? What a fall for Carson Wentz. The Philadelphia Eagles moved up into that draft acquired the pick to take him. He was given the keys to the franchise only to drop it down the sewer and lose the keys. Weird analogy, but that's kind of how I see it. Wentz is a quarterback that I think could go to another team and produce. Wentz is a quarterback that I think could go back to being the starter of the Eagles and do a little bit better. But I think more than anything, it's not about Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz. The headline is what it is. That is the headline. That is the talk right now, Hurts versus Wentz. But really, it's the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz. Philadelphia has done Carson Wentz zero favors. They have not done him the favors that you need to do for your franchise quarterback. Case in point, Buffalo. We have talked about it every single show that the Buffalo Bills, the last two seasons, the last two off seasons in particular, surrounded Josh Allen with as much talent as humanly possible. One of those guys was Stefon Diggs, who had put together season after season of success as a mid-round pick within the Minnesota Vikings, predominantly running offense. You had a receiver that was attaining 1,000 yards receiving per year. What did Philly do to really prop up Carson Wentz? Jalen Reagor, okay. Miles Sanders, injury prone. Another player that's been injury prone. Offensive line, is it one of the elite offensive lines? No, it's not. I didn't even mention the fact that, Carson Wentz battles back from an injury. He's sitting at home trying to stay safe from COVID like everybody else. He's watching the 2020 NFL draft from Roger Goodell's basement, and the Philadelphia Eagles draft Jalen Hurts, who is a Heisman Trophy candidate, on two different college programs, Bama and Oklahoma. He put up massive numbers in college. Philadelphia drafts him in the second round. You don't draft a quarterback in the second round for him to sit for a year, let alone a couple months. The writing was on the wall. As soon as the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, the writing was on the wall for Carson Wentz to eventually be pulled if he showed signs of failure. And frankly, I'm shocked that the Philadelphia Eagles didn't pull Carson Wentz even sooner. Now, the tough thing is the Philadelphia Eagles paid Carson Wentz an egregious contract extension in hindsight. If you knew that you were possibly going to replace him, why the hell would you sign him to that contract? Wasn't needed, wasn't necessary. They could have waited things out. They rushed this extension. They didn't wait it out. Then you get Jalen Hurts, as I mentioned. This guy's no scrub. This guy's proven time and time again that he's a leader and that he can play and that he can do a lot of different things for a quarterback of his size and stature. He's a rare athlete. So why give him that extension? Well, maybe they thought the money would motivate him. They sure as hell didn't care about his motivation when they drafted Jalen Hurts. I think that was the beginning of the end for Wentz in Philly. Wentz has got to leave Philly. It's going to be very tough for the Philadelphia Eagles to find a team that is willing to take on some of that contract. But this is the position that Philly put themselves in. They are lucky enough that a quarterback in the second round fell to them. Second or third round. I can't even. It was a second or third. My memory thinks that it was a second, but it could have been a third. I can't remember off the top of my head. But let's just say for the sake of it, it was a second or third. You don't draft one of those quarterbacks to sit. You just don't. Not there. If he's a fifth-round flyer, sixth-round quarterback, a Jake Fromm, that's one thing. Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts. We have seen what this guy can do. We've seen it. So I think Wentz is going to be one of the hottest commodities this offseason for any team that's looking for a quarterback. I think the Falcons are going to be looking for a quarterback. I'm not saying Matt Ryan's terrible, but I think they're going to move on from him. That's what I've heard. I've heard that the Detroit Lions are moving on from Matt Stafford. Both of those franchises are hitting the reset button. The Colts, they got Phillip Rivers for another year, but what is their plan beyond that? Jacoby Brissett, is he the guy beyond Phillip Rivers? I don't think so. The New Orleans Saints, they have zero plan beyond Drew Brees. Jameis Winston's not it. Taysom Hill is not it. You could say Winston is a solid chance to be a successor to Brees, but I don't think he's the right answer at all. And obviously Pittsburgh, Big Ben is nowhere near the quarterback he was even 2-3 years ago. So they're going to be looking for a quarterback. Carson Wentz will be in high demand. It's just a matter of which team is going to be willing to sort through that awful contract that they drew up for him, that they wrote up for him. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, Jalen Hurts has been successful the first 2 starts of his career, but once again, you better damn well get a decent backup for him. And that's the biggest problem in the league right now. Not only is it hard to find a solid starting quarterback in this league, it's even tougher to find a solid backup quarterback. Not every team has, Derek Carr going down and you can fill him in with Marcus Mariota. Not every team has that opportunity. It's crazy. They go out, they make those moves to get Wentz. They made Wentz the face of their franchise only to just cast him aside like he was nothing. But I got to take my swig here. But I will say that Carson Wentz hasn't done himself any favors either. Cluster, you know what? Carson Wentz seems like he's whining that he was benched. It's like, Carson, you look terrible out there. I don't blame the Eagles for benching Carson Wentz at all. Do I think they put him in a somewhat of a no-win situation? A little bit. It was up to Carson to produce. He didn't produce, but knowing that you got another quarterback looking over your shoulder, you're looking over your shoulder at somebody else, is like the Eagles, whoever thought that Wentz was great and made that trade might not even be in the room of the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. And that guy is not in the room of the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. And that guy's Frank Reich, who's the head coach of the Colts. Bring Wentz to the Colts, and you will see what we saw early in his career. I guarantee it. I have no trepidation about saying that whatsoever. Comments here. Let's see here. We got comments rolling through. $17-0 Cincinnati. 17-0 Cincinnati. This is hilarious. My God. Wow. Yeah, Mike agrees with me. He says Eagles failed Wentz, destroyed his confidence. I agree. It's terrible. I feel sorry for the guy, to be honest. But I think he's going to get an opportunity somewhere, and I think he's going to ball out. I think he's going to do his thing. I think he's going to fire missiles in Indy. It would be perfect for him to go to a team with a dome. And there's a lot of them nowadays. It's not the 70s anymore where you're playing in the elements. So, last and certainly not least, the New York Jets lose the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes for now. The New York Jets, the gift that keeps on giving. Oh my God. I can't take it. The New York Jets are the biggest dumpster fire that the NFL has seen since what year was it that the Bucs went like 0-26? What year was that? Like 72 or 70? I don't even know, but oh my God. The New York Jets, they beat the LA Rams. They actually did beat the LA Rams. I have to start off by saying that. They actually did beat the LA Rams. I'm not saying that it was a fluke. They beat them. The LA Rams lost. They lost to the Jets. Wasn't a fluky win or a fluky loss. They lost to the Jets. How embarrassing. How embarrassing do you have to feel how embarrassed do you have to feel if you are Sean McVay or Jared Goff or any of these other players on the Rams to know that you were the one team responsible to give one of the worst teams in recent memory in the National Football League, the New York Jets, their one and only win that they'll probably have all season long. Good God. That game was hilarious. Frank Gore made plays. Sam Darnold was making throws. Jets defense was batting down passes, picking off Jared Goff. It was hilarious. And despite this dumpster fire of a season, the New York Jets, who were in pole position, I guess you could say, to win the first overall pick, if you want to call it that, suck so bad that you win the first overall pick to take Trevor Lawrence. And I've talked about this with Jets analysts and Jets podcasters. CJ DeSimone, a great fan of the show, of the Weapons Hot podcast. I think it's ridiculous that the Jets, I didn't know that the Jets would end up going 1-13. At the time, they were like 0-5 or 0-6. So I thought maybe they'll win a game or two, and they'll be out of the position for the first overall pick, or maybe they'll win a couple more games. I was wrong. I knew they were bad. They got progressively worse up until this last week win over the Rams. So the thought that they were going to suck so bad, cast off Sam Darnold, who has hardly any responsibility as to why this Jets team is so goddamn awful, that they would pull Darnold out of the way for Trevor Lawrence. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence would even solve the Jets' problems. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, replacing Sam Darnold with Trevor Lawrence. And I think that when I look at it, Trevor Lawrence would be on an island all by himself, just like Sam Darnold is on an island all by himself. So what are you really solving? Is Trevor Lawrence better than Sam Darnold? My grandma knows that. She doesn't even watch football. Of course Trevor Lawrence is better than Sam Darnold, but does it make the Jets much better? If we're talking Madden, the Jets are like a 72 overall at best right now. You pull Darnold, they go down to a 70. You bring in Lawrence, they go up to like a 74, 75. That's not that much better. I'm using a Madden analogy here, but I mean, it doesn't really solve anything. And the Jets just traded up 3 years ago to take Sam Darnold. They gave up second-round picks to get Sam Darnold, to move up to take him. So, I think the team they made that deal with was the Indianapolis Colts. If my memory serves me right, the Colts had Andrew Luck, so they didn't need the pick to take a quarterback, obviously. Oh, man. I mean, the Jets are a joke. A joke. They lost that sweepstakes for Trevor Lawrence, a sweepstakes that I don't even think they needed. But it would have done a lot to build some sort of notoriety and bring in a new coach. I'm assuming the fact that we don't know whether the Jets are firing Adam Gase or not is even more scary. The front office could come out and say, hey, Gase is done at the end of the year. We're going to start a head coaching search. Or they could have fired him already and just had an interim head coach. But they are such a dumpster fire that they couldn't do that because they knew that if they fired Adam Gase, the next man in line in terms of experience and notoriety would have been Greg Williams, who is a maniac of a coach in this league. He does the zero blitz against the Raiders, puts the Raiders in the position to win the game with a bomb from Derek Carr to Henry Ruggs, and they can him. So then that interim option is out. If you do want to fire Gase before the end of the year, now Gase has got to finish out the season. And Jets fans are scratching their heads like, what the hell are we doing? Who are we even going to bring in to be the next head coach of this team? Who's going to want to come there? If the Jets have the second overall pick and they got this situation. I mean, at least with the first overall pick, you are a new head coach, similar to Cliff Kingsbury going to Arizona. He takes Kyler Murray with the first overall pick. They ship out Josh Rosen. I would never disrespect Sam Darnold and compare Darnold to Josh Rosen. But what I would say is that sometimes the head coach just wants to start over and turn a new leaf and create his own team, essentially, build his own team his own way. Darnold will not be the head coach's pick Or the GM's pick, Joe Douglas, who's already there, he didn't pick Sam Darnold. So the coach that you bring in, if you're the Jets, has to be someone that's willing to work with Sam Darnold. If the Jets finish with the second overall pick, the Jags are now the team that is in position to take Trevor Lawrence. And I want to say this. I think it would be a much better fit for Trevor Lawrence if he were to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, if he were to go to the Jaguars, than the Jets. I think it would be great for the NFL if Trevor Lawrence actually went to the Jaguars. Jags are a small market team. They've never really had a face of the franchise. They never really had a star player. I know they've had Fred Taylor, Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, Jalen Ramsey, obviously for a few years, Fournette. I mean, they've had talent on their teams. But Tony Baselli, I know they've had some decent players, but they've never had a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence could potentially be the next Peyton Manning. Trevor Lawrence could potentially be, hype-wise, Andrew Luck. If Luck didn't get hurt, man, that guy would have been good. Would have been great. Not good, great. He was great for the time that he was healthy in the league. So, I mean, I laughed my ass off. Pardon my French, but I laughed hysterically when the Jets lost the rights to that first overall pick based on the strength of schedule. Now the Jags are locked in towards getting that first overall pick and taking Trevor Lawrence. And the mayor of Jacksonville basically said, what a momentous occasion it is for the Jaguars to be in this spot to take a player like Trevor Lawrence. It's a downright certainty that Trevor Lawrence will be picked by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry to Minshew Mania lovers out there, but I think Gardner Minshew will find a spot somewhere else. He deserves a spot in this league, whether it's as a starter or not. He deserves to be a solid contributor as a backup or as a spot starter, a bridge quarterback for a team that's eventually looking for a quarterback. He'll get an opportunity. So those are the storylines that I really wanted to dive into. Obviously, the Bills, 2020 Pro Bowl players, Josh Allen, Trey White, Tremaine Edmunds, Andre Robertson, Stefon Diggs. I'm very happy that those guys got in, but Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Cole Beasley, where's the love, man? Where's the love, in the words of BEP, Black Eyed Peas? Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz. That's a story that, man, it's polarizing. It is, because I know that there's Philly fans out there that think that Wentz got a raw deal. There's Philly fans out there that think that Wentz needed to put up or shut up. And I understand both. I agree with both. I'm on the side of put the guy out there that gives you the best chance to win. And if it doesn't work, admit that it's not going to work. Don't just string a guy along. Well, we really like Carson. We don't know if we're going to start Jalen this week. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling your fans. You're not fooling anyone. Jalen Hurts is the real deal, too. When you have two quarterbacks that are the real deal, it's tough to decide which one to start. Makes it easy, though, when one struggles, and one did. So Hurts came in and Wentz went out. And that's just the way it goes. At the end of the day, this is a business. So his contract, as I touched on, does make him tough to trade, but there are guys out there in history that have had contracts like that are extremely tough to trade, and they have been traded. It can be done, especially at the quarterback position. There is a team out there, trust me, there is a team out there that thinks that Carson Wentz is franchise. And if that team thinks that, and they want him that bad, they'll go get him. So there you have it. I'm wrapping things up. Apparently, the Cincinnati Bengals are whooping on the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I want to check the score on the phone here. I'm feeling like the Pittsburgh Steelers are over. I feel like they're over and done with. The fact that they're losing to a 2-10-1 team. Big Ben gets picked off. Giovanni Bernard runs one into the end zone. Juju gets smashed. Roethlisberger fumbles. I mean, what is going on in Pittsburgh? Obviously, it's Cincy, but something. Is this one in Cincy? Is this game in Cincy? Maybe not. I can't. Yeah, this one's in Cincy. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I love talking about the news and notes around the league. I'm going to do that more often, even on my Buffalo Bills quote-unquote shows. Where it's typically Buffalo Bills talk, I like to talk about the other teams in the league too. And those storylines, those headlines deserve my attention. So there you have it. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and go Bills.